evening, fellow Sublime Text fanatics. Hello and welcome to what should be music playing in my ears, but alas, it is not. Oh, that's right. I had an emergency or unexpected emergency power cycle interruption while I was working on some stuff. And wow, it is bright in here. Let me tweak that up. How is everybody doing this week? Oh, there we go. That's a little bit better. Okay. Welcome in, everybody. Sorry about that. Just a little bit of a... Hey, Lord Focus. Hello and welcome. I had a slight... as the 5-minute countdown for the stream was going, suddenly things just started spontaneously rebooting themselves. I'm like, ah! But we got there. We're good. Hope you're having a good week. We are going to continue some work on our enhanced snippets package here. We got some items in our to-do list. Also been pondering maybe playing around with the linear app as an issue tracker for something like this, just to play around with it and see how it works. It's more or less driven by the intense pain that is brought from using Jira. It's just an exercise in anger and frustration to even mention the name of the thing, you know? Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. Yeah, and one of the things was also my Chromebook. That one wasn't as spontaneous. I just accidentally tapped the OK button when I meant to tap the not now, but I just used that for chat. First things first, as you may or may not know, these replays, once the live stream is done, are on the channel in a new playlist called Oh That Nerd Off the Clock. Normally what I do is watch them, add some table of contents to it to allow you to skip back and forth to the relative part that you might be interested in if you've watched it already and you want to jump back to there, or you are new coming in. I tried something new with the last one, so I'm not quite done with that one yet, because one of the things YouTube allows you to do is online edit your videos. And since every video has that 5 minutes of trailer on the front as the countdown happens, I figure maybe it'll work out better if we trim that 5 minutes off so that the replay immediately starts right on E. And then we can go from there. It takes a long time. Like, I waited at least a day for that. It would have been faster for me to take my recorded version of it, clip off just the parts I'm interested in, and re-upload it as a separate thing than it took for YouTube to edit the thing. Also, it erased the live chat. However, live chat is generally on screen, so I don't think that's too much of a problem, but we'll see. I'm going to do that again this time, but this time I'm going to give it more of a lead time so I have an opportunity to actually do that stuff. And then we'll see how we want to go with that. But in any case, what we are working on tonight is this. We are working on the enhanced snippets package. That's a little package we're working on for Sublime Text that allows you to augment the snippets that exist in Sublime with a whole new level of variables that aren't otherwise available in the core. And we're doing that thanks to or in large part driven by Sublime Text 4's new ability to provide completions in a variety of different ways in a completion handler, one of which is being able to execute a command. Technically, we may or may not have sort of kind of been able to do this before, but there's a few other things about how Sublime works that makes this a whole lot more seamless than it used to be. And also, the important part about this is being able to realistically insert a snippet that behaves like a snippet, which is something that otherwise wouldn't be possible. So we got a few things on our to-do list to do here. I kind of thought of a couple more, so we should probably just jump in and do the coding. So we have our list of stuff here. Now, if you were here in last Monday's stream, then you will know that we started off with just one ginormo file, Python file that had absolutely everything in it. And we split that apart. There's now the events are in their own event handler. The core code is in its own file, which is just a plugin loaded and unloaded currently, and something for getting settings and doing a little bit of a console log. So any output we generate should use this log item here. As regards commands in the system, pardon me, we have each command will be implemented in its own individual Python file. Each of the enhancement variables that are possible are going to be implemented as subclasses of this enhanced snippet base, which doesn't have an appropriate layout, so that's an unfortunate turn of events. We're going to change this up a little bit anyway. And that's going to give us the one that allows us to insert the current contents of the clipboard and also inserting in the current date, including the ability to actually change the format of these dates as they insert. And then also we have some simple utility code up here, which is some of the stuff that's going to be pulled through into other code as we proceed. So we started off with, these are just resources for Sublime, we don't need to worry about those so much. One big file, which, take it from me, not a good way to go. I mean, yes, you can symbol navigate in Sublime to get to the thing that you want, but if the list is large, that makes that a lot trickier. You can also still do that anyway. If we wanted to look at the enhanced snippet base, we can easily jump there using the global symbol list. So we are making the code easier to read and peruse and edit and modify without losing any of the navigability of it, is basically the situation there. What we're going to be working on is this stuff here. So let's go over these really quickly because there's a couple of things that I wanted to add in here. The code that registered as enhancements doesn't handle duplicate classes yet. That's one more thing we have to do, but we don't need to worry about that just yet because that is going to be more or less covered by this item here. So one of the things that we have in here right now in our utilities is something that can find all of the available snippets and load them. In here somewhere. There. So this finds all of the snippets for each one. It gets the snippet completion, potentially adding it into the snippet list as we have here. What we're going to do is modify that up so that there is a snippet manager class that does the exact same stuff. And the reason for that is currently the way we're storing this is just a big object where the keys are scopes and the values are arrays that contain the snippets that apply inside of those scopes. Hello, Ashwin. Welcome in. How you doing today? That particular code works, but there's a stuff that we're going to want to do. We're going to want to be able to trigger. Right now we have an event listener that says if you save a snippet file, reload all snippets. That's a little wasteful. Realistically, we want that to be smarter. We want that to be so that when you save a snippet, it just loads or adds a new snippet. It doesn't necessarily reload absolutely everything. We want a settings watcher, as we're going to see further down the list, so that when the list of ignored packages is updated, any snippets that are in it are either removed or scanned for, depending on how it modifies. And for that, we need to know what snippets are available in what class. And yes, we could try to introspect that by just exploding out the list of all snippets and parsing it, but kind of nicer in the code to be able to get that. So we're going to create a snippet manager class for the purposes of doing that. The enhancement manager class here does the same sort of thing, but for these enhancements here, the clipboard and the date. Right now, what these things are just classes that apply here, and they get added in, they get registered as things. We want to be able to have those in a management class. One reason for that is we want an existing thing to be re-registered and have that have an effect on things. So in that regard, we need a special class for that as well. We have some settings we're going to include for whether or not we want to try to update details, or whether or not but in order to allow us to hide our enhanced snippets from the normal auto completion, we need a little bit of extra action here as well. Hope you're having a great evening, given you're involved in your favorite pastime. I'd assume so. Yeah, not too shabby. Gotta say, it was a bit of a bear at work today, so I'm glad to be working on something sane here. We had this awful weird situation where one of the people in charge of the project got us to come up with things that we wanted to do and spec them out and create Jira stories for them, and then told us, well, you can't do any of these things. This is outside of the spec. Like, well, thanks. Why did you make us do that stuff? So it was a bit of a taxing day, all else being equal. However, this sort of stuff is my jam, yo. So we're gonna go with that. Now, the deal that we basically have here for a lot of these things, and we don't need to worry about it too much right now, but there's a setting that allows you to ignore snippets. What we're going to do is, if you're using this package to augment snippets, you still want to have the ability to ignore snippets, and we're going to be using the ignored snippets to actually ignore all snippets that have been augmented by the user. So we're going to have a setting for user ignored snippets. That's where you, the user, are going to add this record if you want to ignore something specific. Then we will use that in combination with snippets that have been augmented to apply settings to the normal one. Is kind of how that's going to work. Settings watcher for watching for changes in ignored packages. We've already touched about that. We want our own version of the insert snippet command here. Also, this is not as indented as it could be, so that's a little bit unfortunate. Oops. Oops. We'll fix that as well. It's, yeah, I gotta say, it's not something I would have expected. I'll tell you that. I mean, all else being equal, as a developer, what I want is for the leftmost column on the Kanban board, that is stuff that's ready for development, to have stories in it, tickets to pick up, if you will, that are relevant to the work we're currently doing in the current epic, that have appropriate estimates attached to them, that are sorted based on the priority of getting them done, and that have the appropriate requirements to actually do them. So that as a developer, I can say, I don't have anything to do. I look at the list of things I need to do. I sort it by the highest priority. I pick the one that seems like I can probably do it in the time allotted, assign it to myself, work on it, assign it for testing, go back and do that again. However, that's not actually happening right now because the people that are in charge of driving the project aren't doing a particularly good job of coming up with the things we actually need to do. They're really good at coming up with this stuff needs to happen by this time, but they're not that good at creating the stories, creating the tasks, breaking it down, getting anybody to write the requirements for the thing. So I thought, they're probably just doing that, and this was an opportunity for us to add in some extra development work. But it turns out, no, I guess not. So, go me. This is why I'm not a manager. I don't really understand a lot of the stuff that happens in these particular situations. There we go. I had an idea as well, and I don't think I have an item for it in here. I still got to research this as well. I don't know if you noticed this, Ashwin, but you mentioned this particular thing, and somebody, I think it was Michael Lyons, found the project and like added an issue or a request that was like, hey, there's this issue on the tracker that, you know, maybe this could do something with. And I'm like, hey, already in the list, thanks to somebody pointing that out. Oh, whoops, hang on a second, my phone's not on quiet time. Allow me to do that. There we go. Yeah, see, now this is sort of that's kind of how you would expect that to work, right? Somebody needs to say, somebody higher up needs to say, this is the stuff we actually want you to do. As developers, we can't necessarily know that. I mean, we kind of can, but we kind of can't, right? I can say with great authority that what we want to do eventually is process all of the vendor files we have. Which files are more important than which other files, and what should actually be done with them isn't really a thing for me. That's a thing for business. I'm in the technical job of bringing the requirements that someone wrote to life. So someone somewhere should be at least speccing out the stories. But then, yes, I think they need developers. In addition, well, the first thing that they need is a cycle of somebody in business saying, this is what we want this to do. This is what we want this to look like, right? And then the developers come in and say, this will work, that won't work. We come up with our design. That allows us to come up with the amount of time it's going to take. Based on that, we may find holes in the requirements that require it to be kicked back. We may say, you missed some stuff. This part's not clear. Are you sure you want this? We identified this. Is this a thing? We have to kick that back to business. Once we have that all sorted out, it may work out that the amount of time it's going to take is more time than we have allotted. So we're going to need to think about, is there ways for us to piecemeal compartmentalize this, to split it into multiple parts, so that we can actually come up with stories that are reasonable, something that you can grab it and do it in 2 or 3 days or a week and not be busy on the same story for a month. But all of that starts with somebody above our pay grade coming up with that overall look of stuff. And by and large, a lot of the operation seems to be based around the concept of I know what I want when I see it, which doesn't help when a lot of the developers are new to the languages. I'm the only one that has any experience with Python. We're new to a lot of the other technology, and I personally am not familiar with the kind of vendor files that we're processing right now, because my history in the company has been purely price-related data, and right now we're doing fundamental type data. So I can't even help with that. I can provide technical advice, but that's pretty much all I can do. Given what you want to achieve and the current status of the code, developers should easily be able to analyze how to implement. Yeah, that's also a problem too, right? Because all this stuff that we did here, this took me a night to split that file up into a variety of different things, and we're actually going to work a little bit more on this here as well to make this a little bit easier. But that's the sort of thing where the people that are planning the project are like, we don't have time for you to spend 3 hours cleaning up the code. We don't actually know. We need you implementing stuff. I'm like, you don't understand. It's harder to implement things when the code base is harder to understand, harder to navigate. This is a requirement, if you will, but... Gotta stop putting semicolons on things. This isn't JavaScript. If you watch me on Twitch, I've been saying a lot, this isn't Python, as I do Python-related things. I'll say this, project management for a group of people, for something on this scale, I don't envy anybody the task. I think it's doable. I think I could do it. I think the real sticking point is getting business people to concretely say what they want it to do. That seems to be the hardest part. By and large, what we seem to find is the business people want to dictate more the fundamentals of how things happen behind the scenes than what the actual outcome should be. And I think that's a bad separation of concerns, because I have nothing but respect for all of the data analysts that have forgotten more about the bond market than I have ever learned in my time in the industry and all the classes I've taken on that. But they don't have the technical knowledge to come up with a good software design, right? All else being equal. So requirements should really much be we want this data to be stored in the database, and this is how we expect to be able to extract it, and it is our job to say, let me tell you the best way for us to put that in a timely way that'll be easy to search and pull stuff out. But they're trying to cross the streams on that, and that's where a lot of the that's not spelled right. That's where a lot of the problems lie. Well, actually, this could just be done, I suppose. Oh, actually, no, it shouldn't be. It should be, it look like that, yeah. Yeah. Do you have the same problem at your company, Lord Focus, and/or Ashwin? A lot of the problem we have as well is there's so many layers of managers leading up to the head honcho, and everybody needs to be showing that things are moving, and things get accelerated the further down the list you get, until eventually you reach the people that are actually doing stuff that never seem to get the amount of time they need. Not only doing stuff in a timely way, but when the market and or laws change, you want to have your stuff set up in a way that's easy to modify. Exactly that. It seems like a complete no-brainer to me that anytime you do anything, you don't, as much as possible, and it's probably hard to do when you don't have as much experience in a thing, but the more experience you get, the better you get at designing a thing such that it'll work now, and you forecast, you know what if message rates go up? What if we need to store more data? What if we need to add more fields? What if we need more filters? What if we need different sorting? What if we come up with a vendor that requires data criteria to be worked on in a slightly different way? How can we design a system right now? And by design, I don't even, mean like just what classes can we provide and what structure can we impose on that, for example, so that we are open to, oh no, this thing is happening. It's okay. We've got an infrastructure in place for that. I'm not even talking like it needs to be architected to the nth degree before it starts. Just at a bare minimum, the thinking ahead to the things that might happen, the things that in the past have happened that you need to keep thinking about. But it seems to be a very hard thing to get anybody to mention or think of, I've been through that in the food industry, which is similarly heavily regulated, and every now and then politicians need to show they're needed to change some, they needed to change some rules. You don't understand. I need to do this thing. How frequently do you have someone say, hey, let's do this thing, and you're like, that's not going to work because we have 3 different types of files that we need to process, and that solution will only work for one of them. It'll kind of work for the second one. There's no way it'll work for the third one. And people are like, yeah, but it'll work for the first one. You're like, no, you don't understand. The correct solution to the problem is something that works in the general case, not something that works in the specific case, unless you know there is a very one specific case. We're not dealing with one files or 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 files. We're dealing with hundreds of distinct different types of files. We need to be robust. We don't need mostly implemented versions of the same thing with slight little tweaks here, there, and everywhere to try to muddle crap through the system. We need a system that is clearly designed to work in a certain way, right? My take on that anyway. But, I may be biased. I'm an old man. The name of the custom variable that this particular enhance. Now, I may have told this story in stream before, and this is like from more than a decade ago, but the first part of this is that our part of the system for gathering data and pushing it through has we've always thought that the best thing to do is store the data as close to clean as possible, right? So it's normalized to fit the kind of data structures that we have because we have multiple different vendors with multiple different files and multiple different formats. So there's something that pre-processes it into samey format so that we can process everything that comes in on a field-by-field basis without worrying about any of that stuff. And we store the data as unadulterated as possible. And then when someone asks for data, we can apply client-specific transformations to it based on the person who asked. But that's not how the rest of the company does this. And like a decade or more ago, someone came to us and asked us how we managed to make our system so extendable because they're having a problem doing a thing like that. And it turned out that what they were doing was having a completely distinct copy of the application per client, or I guess more specifically, as long as there's a group of clients that want the exact same set of features, they share a version. But if you would get a new client and they want data in a different way or some extra thing that other people don't want, then a new version needs to be split off and manipulated to do just that. And if you were a client that decided there's a couple of things you don't want, again, you'd have to split that off, which makes, as it happens, maintenance an absolute nightmare, because anytime you fix a bug or add a new feature, you don't add it one time. You add it 3, 5, 10, 12 times in slightly different ways to multiple code bases. To this day, we don't know why they were doing that, but they had what they thought was a very valid reason for why it wasn't possible to just have one extraction module at the end. That was the customization part for this. I don't remember. It didn't make any sense to me at the time, but there seems to be a lot of that going on. And I think it has a lot to do with time constraints as well. My previous employer, the food industry, had the better approach. Oh, your company does that, the same thing, as in having multiple versions of the application? I mean, SAP seems to do that, right? To some degree. Well, I guess they just have a lot of customizations in general. So, you know. In any case. Built-in methods will I maintain that I have not once in all of my years in this industry, in live streams, in talking with friends, and talking with colleagues, and talking with just other tech people, and talking with non-tech people, like my wife that uses the company that she works for uses SAP for stuff. In all of that large breadth of conversation, not a single person has said anything flattering or good about SAP. And I know somebody who works for them. Or did, anyway. Maybe he still does. I haven't talked to him in a while. But it's quite the little operation. So in any case, what we're doing here is I want to change this up a little bit, because there's a lot of sameness here. We're using this is applicable approach, which is still valid, but maybe we don't want to implement it this way, wherein we say, well, this is something that's invoked once for every snippet. Is this particular enhancement applicable to this particular snippet content based on variables that we know how to apply? And both of these things are doing something kind of similar. Well, I mean, they should be doing something kind of similar, but they're not. So in the realm of don't repeat yourself, the rule of thumb would be take that functionality and push it up a layer into here. So if the idea is that is applicable says, hey, given this content, do we apply? And by and large, the most of the time, the thing that tells you if you apply is the variable that you are doing something with. Is it in this content? Yes, no. Implementing that multiple times seems kind of silly. So we're going to change this so that the base class version does that. This part won't do that. And then these classes over here will just be able to say define clipboard or define date or whatever. And a lot of this stuff will boilerplate away. And you'll still be able to override is applicable if you have extra stuff that you want to do something with. But SAP Sahana is great. It just has to be well configured, and that's something that requires a lot of skill, patience, and experience. Oh, I can see like two potential problems with that. Skill, patience, experience, pick any one. That's how that saying goes, right? Okay. the base class version of is applicable. We'll use this to determine do we need to store that a little bit right, okay. We don't normally do that, do we? Don't we normally do that? I assume we probably do. Here's the idea. We add something to here. And we add something to, whoops, here. Let's assume that these all kind of work the same way. Yeah, okay. So we're not going to really need a comment on that, and we're not really going to need a comment on that. I think this is as good of an example of self-documenting code as you're going to get for this sort of thing. Whoops. Meant to do that, pardon me. Alrighty. Now, I don't know that we want to create the way that these are bound, by the way, is this. Those things are inserted and then added here. We're just adding the class and using class methods for this, but maybe we shouldn't. If we're going to have a list of these, maybe instead of being class methods, those should be actual instance methods, right? Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Let's, oops, hang on. Let's move that over there for the time being. And yeah, okay. We almost certainly don't care about you or you at the moment. We do care about that. There and there. This. All right. We would need to tweak this stuff up. Oh, we even have a to-do in there for that. Yeah, yeah. We're not going to worry about that for the time being. This, by the way, is some of the code that's going to be pulled out into a separate class when we get to that part in just a moment. And you, we don't care about. So, let's say those don't actually need to be class methods. Yeah. So we'll just tweak that up a little bit. That's going to break that stuff real good. So if we try to actually do something with this, it's totally going to break now, I would imagine. Oh, did we bork the whole? Oh, sorry. We need to do that. Oh no, we busted something really hardcore. Sheesh. Parent enhance snippets.source. Oh. Huh. How did that happen? Alright, that's probably going to refuse to ever auto-reload now. Oh, of all the things I thought I was going to break, that's not one of them. Why is enhanced snippet source at... uh-oh. Loads but doesn't reload. Compare as we dare here that if we open this file and save it. Okay. I think I see where we might have gotten horribly awry here. Whoops. No, we're totally exporting that. In the source module, the two files are core and events. Then we need to reload source commands and source that. Why does that not work the way we think it does? Is it just a notion of the reload that's causing the problem? Oh. Hey, remember when I was concerned that we were going to get ourselves into a dependency loop? To coin a phrase, poop. I think I see why I might have done this a slightly different way previously. Oh, and something's updating. I don't know what. Son of a... Line 23, in lib imports everything. One of the things in lib imports stuff in core, and something in core imports into lib. So the problem realistically is that oh, whoops. Except that we may have broken stuff now that we plunked some crap out. Whoopsie doodle. Oh, I see. Whoops. There we go. Getting closer. Let's quit that and restart it. Yeah, well, we busted it real good, but that's neither here nor there. Christ, there's a lot of snippets in this thing. Holy balls. Okay. We'll note that, oh, haha, it was causing us problems because it was broken. That's interesting. So I think that means it's fixed except for the part where we broke what it actually does. But, just to see. Yeah, okay. Partial modules being what they are, not the greatest thing in the world. Okay, so we can actually just go ahead and tweak this stuff up to actually continue to work. We don't actually want you. Once we change this so this isn't a utility and it's in core along with, or in source along with everything else, then we can boost the log method to be out into here, I think, and that'll resolve that problem. Oh, wait, why isn't the log routine in utilities? Why is it in the core? That doesn't seem right. Did we have a reason for that previously? Stuff in the core might need lib. Stuff in the lib should never need core. It should just be purely library routines. So I think this should work like this. Then that can indeed be log. And now it's going to cause problems in other places. However, our error messages now work the way we want them to, so that's cool. So we just need to find all the places where log is referenced. Oh, which it turns out is only here. Well, that's handy then. From utils implement log. Yep, okay. Cool. Let's commit that bad boy in as a change. Did I push that to GitHub? I did, didn't I? That's an unfortunate turn of events. So instead of importing the logging code from the core, it's now just in utils. And then oh, that's the only thing that actually has to happen there, huh? Because it's used and called in the same place. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Util code which contains import the log code from the core, but the core needs to import just shifts the log functionality into the appropriate location. That's one part of this operation. Okay, so now we're cool with that, and oh no. Yeah, I thought there was a little something missing there. We're going to amend that, but let's make sure that this all still works, yeah? If that's the only thing we see because every single snippet is busted, that, my friends, is kosher. Cool. And the sanity check of the quick quit and the restart to ensure that everything still works the way we want it to. Bazanga. How is everybody else's week going? You've heard about how my Monday is going. How is your Monday going? Or your Tuesday, for those of you that are farther ahead. Was your Monday a good Monday? Okay. Yeah, no, that's cool. We don't care about you. What we care about is that when we invoke this, we're going to have instances of this thing. So let's sort of tweak that part first, and then we can fix the other part second. That's that class. This is that, and that is that. So, pardon me. Nope. We're going to call it on the class, I think is what we're going to do. And then we do a little something like that. That's how classes work, right? Python doesn't have a new. I think I've sort of messed with my own head here. Okay, now anywhere we call get snippet extensions, which is only here, that part should go back to working the way we want it to, right? Because now it actually has an instance of things. And when we call this, that's the thing we were just looking at. That's giving us the list of all the things. There's a create completion, which, yeah, I think that one thing just sort of tweaks it so that it works. Latex, and the item that we want here is doc. Oh, I guess we kind of still have an issue here. Oh, whoops. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do that. Query completions is invoking event handler, which is invoking on query completions, which is invoking create completions, where date, oh, date's being a dick. I didn't update all of those appropriately. Really? That's not my issue. That's automatic package reloader's issue. Okay. The one from the snippet, this is the enhanced snippet, and it's expanding out the dates. And it's also expanding out the clipboard. So this is the last thing I copied. Oops. That works, yeah, so cool. Stick that back over there for a second. Because what we want to change is this implementation here. And in order to test this, we need to capture that. Yeah. Can you use R and F in the same string constant? Neat. I've never tried that before. Thought I got a mail. All right, so What we want is kind of to come up with a regular expression that looks like this, but uses the value for variable name in here to generate that part. And also, it needs to... Oh, actually, we need an extra bit of action in here as well. Okay. Let's implement it in this and then push it back up, because this is going to be the place where we expect this to be. So there's going to be init where we're going to do that, except that would look like that. That should still cause this to work the way we want it to, and very quickly it does. So that's cool. Say here, conduct an instance of this enhancement class, setting up a regular expression which this will always generate a regular expression with a single capture group that is the optional what do you call that thing that comes after the colon? Why did it? Oh, I see. I see what I have done, like a dork. Something like that, yeah? Now, good grief, this is going to be some awfulness. So when we reload this thing, the regex for date is really? Well, still, I guess that kind of worked. Wait, how does this work again? Oh man, this is going to be such a gigantic awfulness. Why does everything use braces for this? Oh. This is not cool, man. All right, so first of all, oh, right, it's just going to show me the same thing anyway, isn't it? Yeah, it is, because that's how it's represented. All right. So the first thing that we want to do is say that this should. Oh, actually, there should be something called variable is equal to date. Okay. So first of all, if this had an F, that would break. So there needs to be 2 of those. All right. Why is it mad about that? Is not 2 things the thing that fixes that? Is real Python cool? Yeah, I can think of hacky ways to do it that involve replacing that character after the fact, but that's neither here nor there. Format strings contain replacement fields surrounded by curly braces. Anything that's not contained in braces is considered literal text, which is copied and changed to the output. If you need to include a brace character in the literal text, it can be escaped by doubling it. Oh, so the syntax is just broken, I suppose. Nope. Oh, I see. There needs to be... Yeah, I'm aware. Okay, but now that one can be doubled. Holy hell. Now the question is, do we just enforce that you always need to use this form of the variable and you can't use the other one? Because this needs to always return a single capture that is the optional default value part of the thing. But we want to make sure that the open and closed braces are actually paired. The last phase of this operation is, if that works, this needs to be that. Oh, whoops. Okay. So that'll do what we want. So we just put this here like that, and this will be self dot variable name. Whoop. Am I dropping frames? No? Weird. Oh, I guess that's just echoing a little happy. Not a problem with automatic package reloader, just sort of a side effect of how it reloads things. I guess we should probably call it instead of using the name of the variable. So then instead of being a bound method, it's the appropriate thing. So if we change this to doot, then when we reload it, that ends up okay. Cool. All right. So does the init take the class? There we go. Okay. If we needed the class, we could do that. Offhand, does this have a name? Does not, does it? The class has a class, has a class, has a class, has a class. Oh. Don't dur it. Wow, that's pretty rough, but for our purposes here, the regex for insert date snippet is that. That one doesn't need to be there. That part's cool. Then we take this whole method and go yoink and take it over to the base. Put it in here like this. Then we come back over to the date and take this and put it over here in this. And then the date doesn't need to have and is applicable because it's using the defaults. It just needs that. And the clipboard doesn't need and is applicable because it's just using that. So by specifying the variable name and expansion variables, if you will, that should, in theory, do what we want and look a little bit nicer. So we clear that console. We reload this. We see just how unhappy that is because we should cut that from there and place it here. Okay. Forgot about my imports. There we go. The regex for insert date snippet is this, and for insert clipboard snippet, it's that. Yeah. So, according to me, if we were to copy, say, these three reload things here, and then say doc, now it's not finding it. That's a level of unfortunate that is rather high. Why you no work? Just to make absolutely for sure, they are using date, they are using clipboard. So, oh my. Yeah, it's just deciding it didn't actually find anything. Well, to coin a phrase, poop. That right there is like what we like to call unfortunate. Did I miss something vital here? Checking for self.variable name in. Okay, well this is going to be awful, but nevertheless. That's almost certainly not a nice way to do that, but okay, so let's sort of tweak that up a little bit. We print you. If clipboard in content there. All right, so it actually found the stuff. It's looking for date in this, and it thinks it found it. It's looking for clipboard in this, and it thinks it found it. So that part's okay. Why does it not end up injecting it as an actual snippet? How did we break that so precipitously with such a simplistic change? He said knowingly. Oh. Well, that's not great. That one just needs to be a variable. This one needs to find out. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's neither here nor there, but it is something that needs to happen here. I think it was throwing an exception and the thing was catching it and eating it. So double check. This is now the content of the clipboard. All right. All right. So we tweaked that up a little bit. We certainly don't need that. What? Oh, whoops. Forgot what I was doing. There we go. Simplistically, we want to see something like that. Insert date snippet is looking for that. Clipboard is looking for that. It doesn't matter what the default value is there, because that'll all just do a thing anyway. Clipboard could actually be smarter. It could say if it didn't actually grab anything from the clipboard, there's nothing we can actually do. I don't know if there's a way for us to actually test that here. There's still something in the clipboard, so I'm assuming that would still work. All right. Probably just borrowing problems as far as that is actually concerned. But that does mean that this Here's a situation that we may want to fiddle with. Snippet looks like this. Let's not worry about the dates at the moment. The idea behind this is that when you use any variable, and we're piggybacking on Sublime's ability to expand these, so we're not implementing this part ourselves, but when you do anything in this vein, whether it's a named field or a field that Sublime actually knows about or anything else, the expansion says that this whole thing should be this value, but if this doesn't exist as a variable, then this should be the default. So if this was clapboard, for example, there is no such thing clapboard. So when we invoke this snippet, which we can't do now because it doesn't have a date in it. Sorry. We need to do something like that so that we can actually invoke this thing. It comes up with default goes here because that variable doesn't actually have a value. So Sublime automatically puts the thing that you expect in there. If this was clipboard, then when we expand this, you end up with that. What if the clipboard was just an empty string? I don't even know the best way to pull that off, to be perfectly honest. Like that. That's still a new line. Now it's an empty string. That still ends up being a situation here. So what I was thinking was, clipboard equals, text equals sublime.get clipboard. Text, if text is not equal to the empty string, else none. Reload all the code. So as of right now, when the clipboard is empty, when we invoke the snippet, you get the default, but if you copy some text, then when you expand it out, you get the text. I think that's more along the lines of what we actually want. It's kind of hard to end up with a clipboard that's empty, but nevertheless. This really cleans up a lot of this action, though, I will say. And we're going to kind of bundle all of these changes together into one whole shaboodle as we go. But we're happy with the base. The base class for creating a new enhanced snippet variable. Snippets are loaded or reloaded. Subclasses of this class are used to see if the content of the snippet needs any extra variable expansions, and if so, what they are. Like so. This is an instant of this enhancement class, setting up a regular expression. That's the init, that's the variable it's doing, it's using the class. Right now for this it's doing that. I would imagine here's a little something we can do here. From dot is enhancements. One more down is lib. I'm not exporting it that way, so that'll blow up, right? That'll work, though. Let's say specifically we want to be able to do that. Really? Oh. that was going to be a problem either way. So that's one thing. Actually, no. Let's blow that up, shall we? We're going to assume that's going to blow up in our face when we get to here and change this to a log. Or that reloader is smarter than I think it is. Right on, I guess. For now, we're going to do that. We'll add in a debug item here. Let's have a, as in the list of settings, we want to add, which is here. Debug would turn on internal logging of things that would otherwise not be seen. As of right now, the main place to use this. Just so we have a placeholder for actually doing that is kind of the situation that we have there. Okay, so that'll solve all of those problems. That'll fix that. I'm just still kind of confused why that actually works. Because it doesn't seem like it should, you know? It seems like it's going to be all super busted and broken and what for, and so on. And yet, nay. So, good enough, says I. The base class implementation does a regex search to see if the variable exposed by this class. Let's change the order of these two. Let's move this up. And there's that, and given a parsed snippet body, return back a dictionary of variables and a potentially modified version of the contents of the snippet. The variables dictionary has keys that are the variables. They need to be expanded. The values of the text that will be inserted. Yes, the content that is returned may or may not be modified in some fashion depending on whether or not this is made. The default version, no, the base class version returns no variables and does not modify the snippet content. Okay, and then the clipboard one, there is no text currently in the clipboard. i.e. it is an empty string. Like so. Only if the we could actually take that one step further and say that if it's the empty string or a string that's just a new line, and then it would also happen if you just hit Control-C while you're not on anything. Does that seem like a valid value of a thing? Can only do so much at for the time being. For right now, those two things are cool. And then for a date, if the default value is provided for this, like so. This will potentially rewrite the content of the snippet. One for each of the distinct date formats that were provided. It's kind of what we have going on there. We actually aren't making that as clever as we could, but that's kind of what it's doing right now. It's just that whole... In order to make sure that a single variable named date can expand out to a year and a month and a day and a year and a month and a day and all that other stuff, instead of having just a single variable named date, this thing here, for every time it sees a date that isn't just empty, it creates a whole new variable named date with an underscore whose value is the time interpreted as if the default value is the format string. So if you do something with %x in one, %y in another, you end up with a date underscore 1 and a date underscore 2, one that is the date in the whole format and one that's a date in just the with just the year. In order to support that, that's why it has to use two variables. The thing this doesn't do but could do is also store a list of all of the format strings that it's used and the name of the variable that associates with it. And then if you see the exact same thing twice, you don't need, you can just reuse the same variable, basically, is the enhancement here. And we may just sort of tweak that in a moment. But for right now, let's commit this particular change. So, you don't need you, guy. Thanks. Whoops. Our change here is that we used to take a class object, now we're calling it an extension class, and we are invoking it. Let's actually change this. Add an instance of the given class to the list of snippets. And yeah, right now this is just a stupid array, but this should theoretically be smart enough to notice that the qualified name of this is the same as the qualified name of something that it's seen previously, or it's defining a variable that's the same as a variable that's already been seen or something. And if that's the case, you should replace the other one with this one. The idea being that if you had one of these extension classes in your user package and you reloaded the user package, or if some other package included one of these things and registered it, every time it re-registers, this one needs to know to update the internal instances of things. So that's why there's a to-do there, but we're not going to worry about that for right now. a list of instances of all of the known classes that can potentially offer enhanced snippets, just so that the documentation for this is as clear as can possibly be. So instead of being a list of classes, it's a list of instances. The comments represent that the variable name changed and we're invoking it as a function in order to store an actual instance. That totally makes sense. That's the bit that we did there. We changed the base class so that it has an init that creates a regular expression and then displays it, which allows the class to declare the name of a variable that it expands. The isApplicable check, instead of just always returning false, now checks to see if the regex matches or not, or rather finds the first match and considers that a good enough way to know. And when we expand this out, otherwise nothing changes. So it's going to create an instance of this, and every class needs to at least, if nothing else, define variable name and variables as a thing. Is applicable, you don't need to do anything with. If you needed to, you could override it, do something different, call the base class. You could also override the init if you want to do a little something magic there. That's your bag, but nevertheless, that is something we can totally do there. And for the clipboard code, this is now as simple as saying we define the clipboard and expand it out, but only if it's not an empty string. So very slight modification there for reasons we talked about previously. This is expected to not be a class method, and it doesn't need to do this sort of hinky bit here. The nice thing about this is that if we change the is applicable thing to have multiple regexes, one for whether it has the braces or not, or something like that, we only have to change it in one place and everything else will just automatically go, which is one of the nice things about these kinds of refactorings. It makes your life a whole lot easier. And in our date item, we no longer need to do this because the base class is doing it. We don't need to longer do that because the base class is doing it. We just need to say the variable name is date, and as an extra added comment, please just go ahead and expand it out. So previously the list of extensions was stored as a list of class objects, and we invoked class methods on them. This has been changed and cleaned up. We probably should have joined those together. The API contract on the base class. This greatly cleans up the existing examples. Yeah? Yeah, it does. Boom. Okay, so that is a little something we wanted to put in there. So now we need a snippet manager and we need an enhancements manager. Which of these do we do something with? Pardon me. First. Is this something that is a lib class? I would say so. And then the other code will create exactly one instance of it, and there'll be a way to pass it around or what have you. Our item here says that, here, let's do this. The snippet manager class holds our custom snippets. It holds all snippets we know about, keyed by their resource name and the scope to which they apply. Allowed operations are to add, update a snippet, find one based on scope, list all snippets by package name or scope, and remove by the same criteria. All right, so let's say Save this as that. Probably not going to need that, let's say. Let's get rid of all of this business. Probably would have been easier to just create an empty file, but whatevs. I don't really care about any of that stuff, realistically. One thing we do know is that we need to add this here. Oh, do I... Hang on. We're going to do a quick check. Not how I did it here, huh? No. So let's change that, shall we? We'll do that, and then we'll do here. We'll call this manager. That'll be enough to do something with that. So, say instances of this class are responsible for holding onto the list of all of the known snippets that we're extending. All right, so that's basically what we have going on here. Now, we said snippet manager class that holds our custom snippets. Hold all snippets we know keyed at a minimum of, so we got something like this. Key the snippets by resource name, package, scope. Existing for a man. The allowed operations are to operations are add, update, single method, refresh as needed is one thing, and find by matching scope, containing package, resource name. That would be a list. That would be a list. That would be a single. Essentially, whoops. And this would be a by what criteria? I don't know. Scan for complete rescan. Actually, let's add that as an extra item here. Scan for snippets would be full scan, matching package, matching a resource. This is all the stuff that we want this class to be able to do in order to be able to manage our snippets in a meaningful way. So let's start by saying that just because we can. How are we going to actually store this stuff? Because right now, we just have this. This and this is probably items that are going to have to be in this new version of the file instead of in that version of the file. Maybe. We'll see. Something needs to create this snippets. So that might be another API method that we have here. An object that represents a list of snippets we want to inject into the auto-completion. In this dictionary, the keys are scopes, and the values of those keys are arrays of dictionaries. We want to store this stuff based on the scope. Yeah, that's that one. The list of packages. The key is the name of the package. The value is the arrays that exist in the package is the items that exist inside of there. And these lists. Of distinction, scope selector, package name, or resource name, or full resource path. In the case of the scope and package items, the values of the keys are arrays, lists. But in the resource list, the snippet records. All right. Those are the things we're totally going to key this by. So here's what we're going to say. We're going to say def scan package. Given the name of a package, this will find and return. So find all. Yeah, we're going to be a little bit. I'm not sure how much of this we're going to be able to factor out, so we're going to have to build it and see exactly where all those items lie. Discard all of the snippets that are known to be in that package from all of the internal lists. And then do a fresh scan of It's one thing we want to do. We want to be able to scan for a matching package. This one is scan it to see if it's a snippet or not. If it is, it's added to the list of two. Right? Given the package user specifications, say, this is not a snippet. Added to and scan everything. And again, once we actually get to the part where we implement this, oops, hang on a second. We need to do that. We can decide if there's ways to factor this out. I've already got some ideas for that. This is discard the entire list. That is, we've keyed the snippets by resource name, by package, and by scope by dint of having those. So we've implemented that part. We don't have this bit yet, but we do have scanning for a full scan. We need to do a little bit more of that. A full scan, those matching a package, those matching a resource. We call this. We have a little thing that says given a scope selector. I'm not even sure if I'm using the right terminology for this because I can't remember exactly how we pulled this. Oh, we're running close on time here. Given a scope selector, return back a list of all of the one. Matching package. These aren't, you would think that these aren't necessarily things that need to be API functions, because if we just expose the lists of data that we have, which realistically should probably be that, to indicate that we don't want anybody else to screw with these lists. We want to be the ones to manipulate the list, because anytime we do anything that adds a specific thing, we need to jiggle around in all of the lists to make sure we're finding the right thing. So kind of important to make sure that we have all the appropriate stuff there, if you know what I mean. Oops. And we'll just go ahead and do that. And lastly, something like didn't mean to do that. Return back either the snippet record for the snippet matching that resource or none if there is no such known currently. Yeah, that's going to be finding by those particular things. We probably at some level want to remove by the same items there, but we modify these as we go. Def add snippet. Given a snippet resource name, attempt to load that snippet and verify that it given a snippet resource name, attempt to load that snippet and verify that it is something that needs our enhancements. It's added to all of the required internal tables. Let's also do a del snippet. Check to see if this snippet is known to we want to do something like that. That's going to be the removing a particular snippet. Def del scope. Remove from all of our given a scope selector, remove from all of our internal lists any snippet that matches. And this is given the package name, remove from all of our internal lists all snippets contributed by that package. add update is a single method, and we kind of have an item for that there. So this is the fleshed out what we need this thing to actually do in order to do stuff that we want. So let's sort of adjust these as appropriate, because I think, well, we probably could have done that more correctly anyway. But if we're going to add a specific snippet, we should maybe try to remove it first, because that'll give us our update functionality, right? We've carefully said that given a resource name, attempt to load that snippet and verify it's something that needs enhancements. If so, add it to tables. If the resource is not a snippet, then by specifying specifically that when we add a snippet, it makes sure to update things, but also get rid of anything that we're not otherwise interested in. What we've given it there is a cheap way for us to say that in order to get the update, delete this item, and then if it's not a snippet, we're done. And if it is a snippet, we add it into the table and it automatically updates things. We may want to do that a little bit smarter. We may want to try to load it first and see what happens. We'll see when we actually get there. Then we can say that we want to scan everything. We may want to scan a particular package, and we may want to, given a package resource, scan it to see if it's a snippet or not. Oh, I guess that's just the add. So that one we don't technically need. Now that we've gotten this far, both of these things are going to be very similar, except the filter by which they filter the list is going to determine how they call add snippet, is essentially how that's going to work. We have things matching a scope, things matching a package, things matching. Add, scan, scan, scan everything, scan a package, scan a scope. Let's put the... You know what? Let's just implement these one by one down as we go and see what we come up with. So the code that was doing this is over here. Specifically that bit of nonsense there. So first of all, whoops. This is absolutely everything, yeah? How do we want to do this? This is get snippet completions. This is what this is invoking. That's this. Let's put it in here. We can do a little bit of that. We may or may not actually need that. The version of this that exists here is referenced only in that call. So if that's the case, and we just ganked this part out. We'll do a little bit of that. That means that this is not actually implemented anywhere anymore. Everything was distinct enough that we no longer even need this whole shebang. We can just go boop, and it's gone. So we returned back an oh, should use a named tuple for this, huh? Not actually using that. That's unfortunate. Thought I was. Returns a new tuple. Oh, I really should yeah. Want a little something like that, and then, well, actually, I guess we would just put this here, huh? We give it the list of fields as a string separated by stuff, right? Oh, it can actually, oh, all right. And is this going to do what we want? I hope so. We really should have sort of implemented this piecemeal, should we not have? To coin a phrase. Whoops. Go big or break home, I say. By the way, if you're watching, if you're curious what we're doing here, if you have any questions about Sublime, package development, where I get my cool shirts, feel free to throw those into the chat. We love hanging out and chatting. And I should also point out that I stream on Twitch as well. Link down in the description. On Wednesdays and Fridays, same time spot. We use a different language there, but still the same sort of vibe. Hanging out and chatting and teaching. And you know, trying to work on other projects. Crap. Oh. This name tuple is used to represent an enhanced okay. If that was in fact the case, then Given a package resource, attempt to load it as a snippet. If this works, we will turn back a named probably should have called that something different, but you know. We'll return back a snippet instance that wraps the data in this snippet. We could add extra data in here to make this a little bit easier too. But one thing at a time. We'll add things as we need to make life better. Alright, now this is the bit where we totally need you. Like that. Pardon me. We are interested in these return nodes, which might be none. Each value, all right, we're going to need that, I guess. When we invoke it, we're going to get that. Explicit returns for the win. We're not doing that. What we are doing is and just to make sure I'm doing that correctly, just invoke it like you positional or keyword. All right, and we're going to do it in the same order that we created it, so life will be good in that regard. Trigger description content enhancers. Trigger description content.lstrip and enhancers. So far so good. That actually loads, so we'll actually change this to load snippet. That's going to be slightly different what we do with it. The reason we're doing this way is because there's multiple different lists that we need to deal with here. Discard all known snippets. So if we're doing a scan of everything, we can do self.discard all and then find all of those. And for each one, we call add snippet realistically. So we need to change the signature for what add snippet takes. Snippet equals that. Scan overall snippets, load them, and for any that return an object, maybe change that from discard to del or what have you. We put that one there like that because it's going to be used here, so the initializing it is the same as we want a little thing like that. Maybe we change that to del. Doesn't seem like a good name for that, does it? This is going to be discard all of the things. Adding a snippet's going to add it to a list, so we don't necessarily want to do that. We'll change what that's going to do. The scan is a discard all here. That's going to be this one. I think we need to boost this one up to here. That's going to take a little bit more thought in what it actually does. This one's easy to do. This one's kind of easy to do because it needs to throw that out, but also it needs to iterate everything in those lists and clean them out as well. So that part's a little bit more problematic, and we don't think we're going to get to that part tonight. We're just going to set up this class, and then I think we're going to call it, because I still have some stuff to do for some other video content that I am creating. But we will get ourselves sort of set for what we're doing here. If r dot starts with that's going to give us packages slash something. Packages slash package name. So we find all of the resources that are snippets. We iterate over all of the entries where it starts with packages and the name of the package. And for each one of those, we try to load it, and if we find it, actually add it. Okay, so that part's fairly simplistic. We have the delete discards for all of these things, huh? Change that one too. It may not actually be needed, all of these things. So again, we're stubbing them out in here, and then we'll see what we actually need and what we don't. But this is kind of the idea for stuff that we want. In order to test this, we would do something like this. Given a snippet, now we've kind of violated what it is that we said we were going to do, because this just says it's adding it. So we're going to have to rebuild up to all of that. But this discard is going to discard everything from all the lists, which empties them, then finds all the snippets, tries to load them, and then add them, which right now is just going to say that. And if we do this for this particular package, we should only see certain items here as well. So we're going to test that by saying there's a little something else we want to do here, which is whoops, that's not going to work. Oh, shoot. Okay. So we do that. We have a manager. If we were to say m.scan. Oh, shoot. Wait, why do we get angry about that? Oh, because that's not supposed to be there. Dang it. Please do not take this Artem. Thank you. So we got one with the trigger of document with the description of the one from the snippet. The content is all of that business. The list of enhancers are insert date snippet, insert clipboard snippet, clipboard snippet. Yeah, because that's not actually clearing that list the way that we want it to. Ha 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 ha. Foolish, foolish mortals. We'll just do this. Remember I said there was a to-do item that sort of requires that to be a thing? That's the reason why we do that. Okay, so we do this, and we find there is exactly one snippet that we care about here. Now you might notice we're missing some kind of important information in this thing, so let's tweak that as well. One called resource and one called package. Why did I do that? Balls. Alright, so it's these ones that are stupidly wrong. Well, don't screw with that, dude. So now we need to pass in a resource and a package into this thing. So the thing that actually creates this, which is this, we're going to also pass in the resource name, which is snippet resource. We'll pass that in just one more time, just temporarily, so that we can see that when we do this, we end up with way more stuff than we actually want in here because of the way that reload works, which is sad in the extreme. But nevertheless, it has a resource that tells us where we got it from, and it has a package. So we just need to trim that bit out, yeah? Do I already have something like that in here? I assume I do. That's not quite the same deal. Pass it a lot. I'll tell it that much. We're really looking for something similar to that. I'm sure that I've got a cooler version of that in here, you know, but all else being equal. Package name is equal to boobs, like so. The deal is, if the resource name is this string, really? Thank you. Split it on that character, and it's always going to be the second item, because we know that this only gets invoked for package resources. It only gets invoked for things in the packages folder, and everything always follows the format of packages / the name of the package / something. And yes, I'm on Linux, and that's how paths work here, but the same sort of paths work the exact same way under Windows as they do here, or on Mac OS. Internally, Sublime normalizes all of the package resource paths to be /s, so that when you write a package like we're doing here, you never need to figure out or keep track of where the thing is actually running, because that doesn't seem like a fun time. So we do that. I really want to fix that other thing too, because it's so irritating. But whoops, we want you. We found one thing with the trigger of document. That's the description. The trigger description content enhancers just gets worse and worse and worse. The resource that it came from is that, and the package it came from is user. So that's giving us all the information we actually need to throw this stuff into an appropriate location. It's basically what we want to do here. I'm going to change that. then we can just do that, right? Could we actually inline that? Yes. Yes, we could. We can really do something like that if we wanted to. But this makes it kind of easier to read what that's actually doing at any given point here. Given a resource name, check to see if this snippet is known to the system currently, and if so, remove it from all of the internal lists. You see there's a pretty easy way to pull that one off. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Adding snippets in similarly. This takes care of everything, so we never need to worry about it. So both of those are going to do what it is that we want here. We really need to get that other class manager in there too, I think, but we won't worry about that for the time being. I don't think that's strictly necessary, all things being equal. Yeah. Should we go just a few minutes more and get a little bit more of this going, or should we call it? I really should call it, but I'm having fun here. If we think about how we would actually implement this, anything we discard needs to actually so this one needs to find it in all of the lists. Question. Different objects, but tuples have an equality about them based on the values that they store because they're non-mutable. I'm pretty sure that that's not a lie. I hate to rely on it. They're compared position by position, and they're not allowed to change. So, the first, how are named tuple comparison is probably a better. Name tuples provide some useful functions. You can use the equals operator to compare two named tuple. Oh, my eyes! Jesus Christ. Okay. Yep. Yep. Okay. Do that. Do this. You could pass those in a different way, but I like the array better. Pardon me. Instantiate. So it has an equality. Neat. Name tuples provide some useful functions. You can use the equal operator to compare two name tuple instances. Yeah, okay. Just to double check on that situation. I'm pretty sure that's the whole point of using those in the first place. Which means, don't want to look an override audit because that's not the thing we're currently doing something with, is it? This is the thing we're currently doing something with. We should really tweak that enhancement thing up too. Here's what we're gonna say. What happens? Yeah, you would. Okay. Given a resource name, is that how we want this to actually work? Yeah, okay. So we have the discard. Let's not worry about any of those. Let's worry about this one. The 3 lists are those. So when we call the add, we do that. And just for temporary purposes, let's do this. Because that thing is just a gigantic pain in the rumple. That'll give us a... After scanning that particular thing, that's the snippet we found. The enhancers have been removed because the automatic package reloader keeps reloading the same file over and over and over and over again, and it's currently not smart enough to kick things out of the list that aren't supposed to actually be in the list, and then those 3 lists are empty. So first of all, it is enough to say that... oh, crap, don't do that, bro. Self dot, what do we call it? Res list. Snippet dot resource equals snippet. Okay, that's one of them. That's the ones keying it by the resource name. Oh, what do we call it? Crap. Oh. Oops. Alright. That should have worked. I just don't know how to spell. That's a different thing. So now, after we found that snippet, the resource list has one item keyed by this name. And that is the content. So if we wanted to find, is this a snippet that we know about? Yes. Yes, it is. And if we wanted to delete it from there, we could also do that. And implementing that in the manager. It's a discard, yeah. Hi, bud. You okay? Puppy visit time. Yeah, there's my boy. That's the first part. Given the resource name, check to see if the snippet is known to the system, and if so, remove it from all internal lists. The easiest one to return it from, delete it from, is the list of items by resource. Yeah. Needs to discard it from absolutely everywhere, but that's neither here nor there. This would cause a replacement to happen. Next, by package. So we want to do that one. We would say instead of that, self.package list snippet.package. Is that what we called that? Yeah. There you are, you little devil. So now we do that, and now the list of snippets that are known to the user package is that. Actually, that should be a list of things, I guess, and not just that. Shoot. I guess that can't be a lambda, can it? Because it's not going to return the... Nike. Yeah, so we want to do that in a slightly different way. Well, not necessarily. Object and key, and then say if the key is in the object. If the key is in the data object, then return data object key. Otherwise, sorry. It's a simplistic little dealy doodle, but nevertheless, given the data, oh, how should we call that? You son of a bitch. Return back the list at the given key. If there is no such key, this allows us to go to that thing that we just did wrong and say we want to get the list from the data list to that with the key, the package, and then we do that. Oh, whoops, I didn't delete that one. Whoopsie doodle. Oops, pardon me. So we go a little bit like that. And now the first item is empty. The second one is all the packages that are known to, all the snippets known to the user package. There's currently one, and that's it right there. If we do that, we can see it matching. And then for that particular snippet. So we just need to add this one other one, and then we're kind of on the way there. So that's what this other thing was actually doing already. Not create completions, mind you, and not that, mind you, but oh, I guess the thing we, what did we remove from that thing? Just based purely on the scope inside the snippet. All right, well, that makes that easy then. Makes sense because we're going to scan through all of them anyhow, yeah? Right. We want you. For adding a snippet. Oh, well, don't do that. But that would be you and snippet.scope. And that's why we factor that out into its own little situation there. So we do this. Oh, crap. It's called selector, isn't it? No. Oh. Whoops. Oh, we're using it, we're not storing it. Teehee. Let's do this. Now it goes scope resource package. Scope resource package. And oh yeah, right. We unfixed it. Due to that little boo-boo. We created a snippet. That's this thing right here. For things that match this, there's currently one snippet. For things in the user package, there's currently one snippet. And for that, there's currently one thing. So on the face of it, that kind of does what we want. Get rid of that. This needs to be fleshed a great deal, mind you. But what's the best way to deal with what we have done here? For scope, snippets in get snippet list items. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's almost 11 o'clock. I'm afraid that we're going to have to call this. We're going to continue this into the, what is that? What are all those underscore prefixed members? Is that how Python does private? Yeah, it's kind of a convention sort of thing. The general gist of things is if I, no, Let's see if we can find a simple example of a thing here. If I do this, for example, and call this sample.py, if I say from user.sample import star, that imports all of the symbols from this. Does Bob get imported? No. But does example command get imported? Yes, it comes from the package user sample example command. So on the face of it, if there's a single underscore on this thing, that makes it local by convention or private by convention. It's basically, on the one hand, you saying this value is something that is for me and not for you. So people that use the lazy import like this can't get it. But what we can do is say from user.sample import Bob. It's not so restricted that we can't specifically fetch it if you want to. It's just nothing that happens by default, if you will. With this machinery behind the scenes, the general way you do stuff is if you put a single underscore in front of a thing, it's a method that potentially, I don't know, what would you consider that, like protected? It's not something that you're supposed to touch, and to a large degree Python won't actually go. There's actually another way to do that too. If I do that, and then I do this, I'm gonna have Bob because I did that. So hang on a second. Let's just do that, just to clear everything because it totally remembered. So if I import everything from here, do I get Bob? No, for the same reason as before. I do get example command, just like we did before. I can say from here import Bob, and I get Bob. What I can't do is this. Oh, I thought that might only work for class methods, now that I think of it. It's been a while since I've used that one, but basically it hides crap in a more private thing. I haven't played with that in years, so I may be misremembering that one. Yeah, dollar prefix, same sort of dealy doodle. So when let's get rid of that. When I do this kind of stuff, I tend to say if there are anything in here that's not supposed to be exported, let's make that a minus. Which on the one hand means that in this, when it says from utils import star, it's not going to grab that symbol, so nobody can directly import it from there anyway. But if they really wanted to, they could nailed right down into it. So it's sort of like a twofer on that sort of deal. Can you use hash marks in JavaScript now for that too, for making methods private, or is that only in like ECMAScript 7 or whatever? Because I remember doing it in my bot, but I don't remember. I remember it being not necessarily everywhere at the time. Yeah, same sort of deal. There are some symbols that if they have two leading underscores, they're just completely hidden. Can't remember the specifics of that. I tend to just sort of try to be a good citizen in that regard, if you will. That's all going to be okay. I wonder why it didn't like that. Nevertheless, what we're gonna do is It is almost 11 and I have a little bit of stuff that I need to do before I go to sleep, and I think I have an early morning meeting tomorrow, and I want to try to get a little head start on actually doing some of the tasks that theoretically I'm supposed to be doing now, since I wasted my day doing that sort of thing. But thanks for everybody for showing up. Had a blast with this thing. We're going to continue on with this. There's a possibility that I may have some time throughout the week to work on this a little bit more, to at least bring the code full circle to continuing to work. I'm not going to push this broken commit up because that's not how we do. However, yeah, we're definitely going to be continuing working on this package for the next little bit. I also want to play a little bit with the linear app for doing issue tracking. I might play around with that with this as well. So we'll see what happens there. In the meantime, though, I hope you all have a fantastic week. We will be back here on Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific until late p.m. Pacific, working on this a little bit more, working in Python, working on this package, answering any questions anybody might have. I will also be on Twitch on Wednesday and on Friday, where we are working in JavaScript, creating a clone for an online service called Stream Elements. We got a lot of stuff done on Friday. There's a little bit more that I want to do to get that overlay stuff done. If you watch those streams, you know what we're talking about there. And I think we need to rename something. But that's all stuff that we're going to do in Wednesday. So until the Twitch stream or then, I hope you all have a fantastic week. Take care of yourselves out there. If you're in the tech industry, don't let the man give it to you. This replay will be unlisted, and there's a playlist linked down in the description below. Until the next stream, have a good one, everybody. Have a good one. Eat some pizza for me. Be the pizza dragon. I really want some pizza right now. It's 11 o'clock, though. I don't think that's a good idea. Good night, everybody. Bye.